guys, and welcome back to Mushroom Oasis. This is part 6, and hopefully Michael will be bringing us home today. We'll see. The last thing I heard was the gentle crackling of the fireplace, accompanied by Michael's knitting needles clicking away in the dark. Before I knew it, I could hear birds chirping outside the window. The first thing I noticed was Ooh. The first thing I noticed was the fire must have been out, considering I couldn't hear the familiar pop and snap that came with the room's ambience. The second thing I realized was the hand gently shaking my shoulder awake. Wake up, sleepyhead. I stirred, yawning as I sat up in bed. Michael beamed, hands still on my shoulder. There you are. Had a good sleep? I mumbled incoherently. His smile widened into a grin as I blinked myself out of my woozy state. If I didn't know any better, he seemed to enjoy waking me up in the morning just to see my disgruntled expressions. Breakfast is ready. Wash up and meet me in the kitchen, all right? Give me a second. He took that as my assent, humming his responses. Suddenly, his hand reached up to ruffle my hair, messing with my bed head further. Hey! He merely laughed at my indignant squawk before reminding me once more to get up, his steps already thudding towards the kitchen. Recovering after a moment, I stared at the wall, pondering my situation for a second as I made my way to the bathroom. This was the third day since I've left my house. I'm missing work, missing my cat, and missing my sense of direction. I've got to get back to my life. Today. Quietly reminding myself of my goal, I padded to the bathroom, freshened up, and joined him in the kitchen. Michael was already seated, cutting into some pancakes. His smile was bright as I entered the kitchen, his tail flicking closer to my seat as I sat down. A similar stack of mouth-watering pancakes was placed across him, waiting for me to dig in. Though I couldn't bring myself to muster up an appetite with so many thoughts filling my head. He seemed to notice the look on my face, laughing nervously. You look serious. Something on your mind, Firefly? I picked up my fork, twiddling with it. I'm just worried about getting home. Michael faltered as he lifted a piece to his mouth. Oh, you're still thinking about that. He seemed annoyed, which was a first. Of course. I've been gone for 3 days. People probably think I've gone missing. His gaze lowered, almost grumbling. Is that so bad? I what? Yeah, it's bad. Why do you sound like you don't even care? Michael frowned, looking up at me now. Why do you sound like you're desperate to leave? What? It's all you ever think about. Are you not happy here? Is it not enough? I sighed, rubbing my fingers over my eyes. Michael, we've gone over this. I've said it once, I'll say it again. You've done so much for me already, but I can't keep pretending everything's okay here. I want to go home. I need to go home. He sucked in a deep breath, grunting something indecipherable under his breath. I only wanted to. He seemed to be battling himself before he finally sighed. I'm sorry. You're right. Of course, you're right. His tone seemed genuine, even if the hurt in his eyes was clear as day. I'll send you back today. I narrowed my eyes. I mean it this time. I promise. He held his hand over his chest. I swear on my heart. I mean, how could I not trust him? I can give you like 4 reasons to not trust him. He was my last hope. Okay. I paused for a moment before adding quickly, "Thank you." He nodded and went back to eating, watching me expectantly as he took a timid bite. It was a moment before he swallowed and spoke again. "Can you promise me something?" His voice was quiet and, for lack of a better word, vulnerable. "What is it?" "Promise me." His mouth hung open for a second or two before he laughed. "Promise you weren't lying when you said you liked my cooking." I snorted. "Are you kidding? Do I look like the kind of person to lie?" "I'm offended, Michael." He laughed again, light and airy. But if I dared... He laughed again, light and airy, but if I dared to look closer, I could tell it was fake. He probably didn't want to make our last moments tense and awkward. The least I could do was meet him halfway. Before long, we found ourselves walking down another path from Michael's. The route was different today, probably because he didn't have any detours in mind. We walked in silence for a while. The only thing accompanying us were the sounds of nature and our footsteps. I couldn't tell what Michael was thinking. I knew he wasn't the talkative type unless spoken to, but right now he seemed eerily quiet. His back was tense, eyes looking nowhere but forward. His voice was itching to say something, anything. But it felt like the both of us had some thoughts to digest, despite it being easier to just say it out loud. Still, the silence was getting unbearable. So, we both halted in our steps at the sound of rustling, Michael's ear perking in a direction. What was that? His hands were already raising to hold his crossbow, deftly cocking it with an experienced pull of the string until a solid click was heard. "Stay quiet. Stay close." I swallowed, my heart picking up speed. He started stalking low towards the source of the noise, his boots barely making a sound compared to my clumsy footsteps. The rustling continued, sounding like a scuffle was occurring between the bushes. Closer, closer, until my ears picked up an unfamiliar high-pitched sound. It sounded like a tiny infant screaming. As morbid as that was, Michael actually relaxed as he recognized it. His steps hastened silently towards the source, crossbow lowering until we came across what exactly it was that caused the disturbance. "Oh, it's a wabbit." Its small, delicate foot snagged in an old, rusted trap. Its little body trembled as it breathed fast and shallow, no doubt scared out of its mind. Michael regarded it empathetically before unloading his crossbow, Michael regarded Michael regarded it empathetically before unloading his crossbow, disturbed by the caught rabbit, but at the same time relieved at the absence of a threat. Just a rabbit. Sweeping his crossbow behind his back and out of sight, he looked at it for another moment before looking up towards me. "Let's keep going, then." My mouth dropped in shock. "And leave the poor thing behind?" He raised a brow, confused at my bewilderment. Yeah. But it's going to die. His face twisted into confusion. That's generally what happens to prey animals, yes? He was so nonchalant about it, I had to keep my emotions in check. We can't do that. Look at it. His expression was understanding, if a little annoyed. I am. Someone left a trap. A rabbit gets caught in it. That's how it works. What do you want me to do? Set it free? Oh. Set it free? Obviously. He was frowning now. I can't. If someone is nearby, they'll be suspicious how their catch got free. Does that matter? Animals escape traps all the time. The poor thing is suffering. Arya, I know you're smarter than this. If it doesn't die today, it'll die tomorrow. To a trap, to a fox, to a hunter. It probably won't even survive long with its injured foot if we set it free. You're prolonging the inevitable. Can't you put it out of its misery then? He hesitated. Do you really want me to do that? No. But even then, we don't even know if anyone's coming back for it. The thing looks so old. He sighed impatiently, looking stubborn in his decision. That's the point of a trap. It's to keep things right where they are until you come back. The way he said it just rubbed me the wrong way. He is being realistic, though. In a way, his logic made sense, but still, I could hardly believe how needlessly callous he was being. For someone so sweet with his hens, he was so indifferent about the poor rabbit shaking at our feet. I looked down at it once more, my heart breaking as it started to squeak. Michael. I guess you're right. Okay. Follow me. Who was I to say what was right and wrong? Maybe he had a point. I was just one small rabbit in the grand scheme of things. We should just let it be. Michael led us back to where we came, the struggling, squeaking noises of the rabbit eventually drowned out by the noises of the forest around us, left alone to its fate. Guilt spread through my chest like an icky mold, but I quickly stifled it. It's just nature. Let it be. Let it be. Michael took the lead, his footing sure and confident. He must have noticed my unsteady gait beside him as he subtly veered towards a clearer path I could easily follow. I didn't verbalize it, but I was definitely grateful for that. As much as the forest was growing on me, getting my feet caught in roots and twigs every few steps was getting tiring after a while. Our steps fell into rhythm next to each other. I peeked at Michael every once in a while, trying to gauge his mood after what happened. Even after spending so much time with him, he was so difficult to read. How can someone both wear their heart on their sleeve yet keep it stitched tight, never letting anyone come too close? I knew he had secrets he wanted to keep close to his chest, but I wish he'd just open up to me a little. The silence that hung in the air was making my skin prickle. What's your favorite animal? I was so caught up in my thoughts I didn't even realize I blurted the first thing that came to my mind. Michael regarded me curiously, ear flicking. My favorite animal? He pursed his lips in thought before his ears perked. Jellyfish. I did a double take. It was one thing for him to have an answer so readily, but the choice was something else. A jelly? Why jellyfish? I thought it'd be, I don't know, a bird or something. He shrugged. They're pretty to look at least from pictures I've seen. Plus, I kinda relate to them. He said that without zero hesitation. How exactly do you relate to jellyfish? His expression faltered, as if deciding on the right way he could explain his answer. Let's just say I have something in common. With a jellyfish? Well, one jellyfish. In what way? That they're pretty to look at? A strangled noise slipped past his throat. No. You wouldn't get it. Try me. No. I groaned like a dying whale in exasperation, shoulders slumped like I had a back problem. He's not gonna elaborate anymore, is he? He probably spotted the vein growing on my forehead as he snickered. Relax, Firefly. You're gonna faint on the spot if you think any harder. Yeah, well, it'd be your fault. His smile dropped for a second before his cheeky grin returned. Touch. Touch? Touch what? You know, touch. I stared at him, his happy grin shifting into a confused frown. You know, touch. When, it's like saying you're right. You mean touche? He smiled innocently. Yeah. This man will be the death of me. He laughed at my screwed up grimace, waving a hand hastily. What about you? What's your favorite animal? He might not like this answer. Cats. He snorted, a fond smile on his lips. You know what? I don't even know why I bothered asking. Of course it's cats. What's that supposed to mean? He gave me a look. You know what I mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. He pretty much giggled in response. We continued with idle chatter after that. I didn't even know how much time had passed as the trees slowly thinned out, the sounds of nature muffling as the canopy started to grow scarce. Suddenly I heard the soft yet familiar rumble of a car in the distance. I almost didn't pick up on it, fully immersed in whatever Michael was rambling about. Something about the life cycle of a topsy-turvy Dorney, or whatever it was he called it. Oh! Had we really walked that far already? I left Michael's side and rushed forward. He made a sound of surprise but followed suit. I neared the edge of the forest just as another car drove past. I recognized my street instantly. Breaking into a light jog, I almost missed Michael calling for my name as I run down the road. There! My house is visible from where I stood by the street. I was breathing heavily by the time Michael approached my side, the man barely making a sound as I took in the sight. Oh, I missed this. I turned to thank Michael, only to startle when a bundled stranger took his place. Ah! Sorry. People about. I couldn't see anyone around, but I guess he was right. He was right to be safe. I guess this was his version of a disguise. If I were to pass him on the street, I don't think I would have bothered to look twice. I mean, I'd want to say thank you to your face, but I'll settle for this, I guess. His chuckle was muffled underneath the scarf. He pulled it down so he could speak properly. Did I scare you? I got distracted. Michael's eyes squinted from where I could see them, and I wonder how you don't get lost every 20 steps. Hey! He laughed at my offended tone. You better not go back in there, got it? I'm not always going to be around to find you. Who says I need you around to find me? Almost instantly his eyes hardened under his sunglasses. I'm serious. Don't go wandering in these woods again. Or I might have to start taking drastic measures to make sure you stay upright where you are. I sputtered indignantly. I'll wander where I please. Sure. He looked over my shoulder towards my house. So that's where you live, huh? Looks cozy. I wasn't sure if he was being genuine, considering he lived in the wooden back ends of the middle of nowhere. Suddenly I perked up with a thought. Do you want to come by? His eyes started towards me, shock evident on his face. Me? To your home? I nodded. He froze completely. For a second I thought he stopped breathing. I'd love to... Sudden barking and a shout startled us both, my body jerking forwards as his arm yanked me close. I heard a soft rustle as his sunglasses fell to the grass from the sudden motion, his hastily worn beanie shaken off his head. Looking up, it was just my neighbor calling out to their dog. Oh, looks like Vita's back from college. I paused, feeling his grip tighten. I looked down at his hand on my shoulder before glancing up at him. Michael? He stepped back to the present, his hand releasing me quickly. So sorry. He looked towards my neighbor and their dog for another moment before turning back to me. I don't think it's a good idea for me to go with you. I don't want to be seen. I deflated just a little. But you have your disguise, don't you? He shook his head insistently. I can't risk it. It's better this way. He spoke with a finality that was starting to become familiar. If he wasn't willing, fine. At least I was. Before he could pick up his accessories, I gently grabbed his wrist. Then can I come visit you instead? What? I huffed impatiently. If you won't come to mine, then I'll go to yours. Once again, he was rendered speechless. Why would you ever want to see me again? At this point, I was starting to look and sound peeved. For all his good traits, the constant need to build his walls higher around me was starting to get annoying. I folded my arms, looking stern. His eyes widened as if in preparation, ears flattening like a cat in the middle of a scolding. Michael, can you just accept the fact that maybe I enjoy your company and wouldn't mind more? I'm sorry, nobody's ever... But you wanted to go home so badly. Oh, this man is hopeless. Yes, of course I do. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna forget about you completely. Besides, I promised I'd show you how what phones could do, didn't I? Besides, I promised I'd show you what phones could do, didn't I? Dismissing the fact that there's probably not much I can show when there's no data in the woods. I'm sure he'd be enthralled by whatever dinky mobile game I had installed at the time. The point was, I just wanted to see him again. So that means I get to see you again? I picked up the eager tone in his voice, realizing he wished for the same sentiment. Yeah, I want to. His voice warbled for a second. Firefly? He cleared his throat, laughing to himself. Arya? You can't imagine how much that means to me. A lot. It means a lot. More than you know. I nodded, a gritty smile creeping into my face. How's next weekend? He tilted his head. That's 7 sundowns from now? 5. His smile widened, his eyes squinting in absolute delight. Okay. I'll meet you here then. I smiled at him, figuring this was goodbye. You're welcome, Firefly. His voice filled with a warm, soft reverence. I didn't think much of it before now. I was really curious. Why do you call me that? Huh? Firefly. You've been calling me that since we met. Why? Oh, He fidgeted with his strap of his satchel as if embarrassed. I guess you just remind me of one. I snorted, folding my arms in mock offense. You're comparing me to a fly now? Beetle, actually. Still a bug. He sighed, rolling his eyes. I'm not done. Right, sorry. Go on. He rubbed the tips of his fingers on the strap again, slowly speaking. When I first found you, I thought our time together would be short. Something that might fade as quickly as it appeared. And if I wasn't careful, you could slip away so easily. Fireflies are so delicate after all. But then, you stayed. And not just stayed, you lit up everything around me. Something I didn't even realize I needed. Your light was warm, soft, mesmerizing, safe. I wish I could keep you in my hands forever. But you wouldn't like that. Would you? He stared at me with such intensity, I really did start to feel like a bug under a microscope. My face grew warm, a shudder running up my spine. Wow, cool story. Anyways, I gave him one last light punch on the shoulder. It felt like punching a sack of grains. I'll see you next weekend. Ignoring the heat on my face, I looked both ways before jogging across the street. My neighbor in the yard looked up as I approached, their eyes lighting up in recognition. Arya? Their hands fidget with the frisbee in their hand as they approached, their ever-loyal Lika following close behind. I was wondering where you've been. I dropped by to give you some cake over the weekend, but you weren't home, and you didn't answer your phone, and your packages were piling up at the door, and I held my hands up in a placting gesture. Vita, I'm fine. At our feet, Lika was dutifully pawing at their elbow to calm them down. Their mouths stopped midway through another sentence, blinking rapidly. Sorry. They reached down to pat Lika's head, significantly calmer as they asked me again, Where were you? Where have you been? I was, visiting a friend. For a digital detox? Off the grid and all that. They blinked slowly, nodding. Oh, that sounds exciting. By the tone of their voice, they didn't mean that at all. Oh, what about Huck? Did you manage to find him? My mood instantly dropped. No. That's why I went away in the first place, you could say. It took a few seconds for Vita to understand what I meant. Oh! I'm sorry. It's fine. They straightened, a flash of empathy on their face before they smiled. Well, Leica and I are around for the semester break if you need anything. We should do a movie night. Maybe that'll lift your spirits. I found this really good one I think you'd like. I did some research and I feel like it's right up your alley. Lika and I could take a quick drive to the store, so just let us know when you're up for it. I could get your favorite snacks and stuff. Lika gave a happy bark at the familiar word. A fond smile quirked at my lips. Thank you, Vita. I'll bring the orange soda. Their expression lit up happily. Take care. I bid them both goodbye to walk up my driveway. Once I got to my door, I had an urge to turn around one last time. I was surprised to see Michael still standing by the forest's edge, shadowed by the trees. Our eyes made contact, his own a fierce, piercing yellow shining against the shade. I gave him a big wave. It took a moment, but he waved back. Smiling to myself, I unlocked the front door and let myself inside. It was surreal, standing in my doorway again. I felt like Alice, who just woke up at the end of the book, feeling like I dreamed of Wonderland. I tossed my keys and my backpack by the hall carelessly before plugging my phone into the charger. I dreaded playing catch-up with the people who might have tried to reach me during my absence. Work, family, friends. I groaned aloud, flopping onto the living room couch. Ah well. At least I had this weekend to look forward to. That's all from day 3 of Mushroom Oasis demo. This is only a demo? What? More updates coming in the future. Tell me what you think of the game. Any support/feedback is highly appreciated. Thank you for playing. It's such a good game. It took me so long to get through it, but it's so good. I am so glad I did this. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.